Chains of Empire, the long story of France and Africa. First shadows on the coast, 17th–18th century. It began with ships. French traders like shadows on the Atlantic crept along the coasts of Senegal, Benin, and the Congo. At first they bartered cloth and guns for gold, spices, and slaves. In places like Gorée Island and St. Louis, French forts became hubs of the transatlantic slave trade. Human lives were shackled, branded, and shipped across the ocean. Africa bled, and France grew rich on the profits of sugar plantations in the Caribbean. But this was just the beginning. 2. The Age of Empire, 19th century. By the early 1800s, Europe had turned its gaze inward, until Napoleon's empire fell and a new hunger rose. In 1830, France invaded Algeria. What began as a brief military expedition turned into a brutal, decades-long colonization. Villages were burned, land was seized. Resistance leaders like Emir Abdelkader fought valiantly, but France's grip tightened. By the end of the century, Algeria was declared French soil, but only for the settlers. Then came the scramble for Africa. At the Berlin Conference, 1884–85, European powers carved the continent like a feast, and France took a lion's share. French West Africa, AOF, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Niger, Mauritania. French Equatorial Africa, AEF, Chad, Central African Republic, Congo-Brazzaville, Gabon, Madagascar, Djibouti, Tunisia, Morocco. It was an empire stretching from the Atlantic to the Red Sea. But it was built on coercion. France imposed its language, its schools, its laws. African traditions were dismissed as backward. The people were taught they were subjects, not citizens. Some were conscripted to fight France's wars. Others were forced into labor to build railroads, mine resources, or harvest rubber. And yet, resistance never truly died. Third, War and Awakening, 20th century, World War I and II, Africa's forgotten soldiers. Tens of thousands of tirailleurs Senegalais, African soldiers conscripted into the French army, fought in World War I. Many died in the mud of Verdun and the cold of Champagne. They fought for liberty in Europe, only to return to a continent still bound in chains. In World War II, African troops again fought and were massacred at places like Thiaroye, Senegal, in 1944 when they demanded back pay. Still, the war cracked open the old world. France had been weakened. And across Africa, young men and women began to ask, why do we die for their freedom while ours is denied? 4. The Fire of Independence, 1950s–1970s. The 1950s brought winds